Welcome to 305 Live. We're gonna go over 1v1 defense today. Alex is here to help me out. So we're gonna jump right in and we're gonna go over 5 different keys to remember when you're playing 1v1 defense. So the first one we're gonna talk about is your mindset, okay? You have to have a mindset where you're confident in yourself and you're giving yourself positive self-talk. You never wanna be the defender against an attacker being like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? What is she gonna do? I'm gonna get beat, right? You don't wanna have that mindset. You wanna have the positive self-talk, telling yourself, I got this, she can't get by me, come at me, let's go. That's the kind of mindset that you wanna have going into it. So work on that positive self-talk, work on that confidence. And then confidence also comes from putting work outside of practice. So the next time you step on the field, you'll be able to draw from that and know that you've done it before and you can do it again. Step number 2 is your approach. So let's say that Alex is our attacker and she has the ball, I'm the defender, okay? As I'm approaching, let's say she's a right-hand attacker and I want to force her left. So as I'm approaching, I want to get low and I want to approach on a diagonal so that I'm forcing her this way. So notice that I'm right-handed as well, but I'm going to put my stick over here because I want her to go that way. So everything about my body language is forcing this way. All right, I'm not opening my hips directly to the cage because this isn't good either. I'm just right on an angle, right? So that's my approach. You also want to be saying got ball in a game, right? Communication, it might intimidate the attacker a little bit too. Then step 3 is your breakdown. So let's start from the beginning again. So I'm here, I'm approaching. As you're approaching, you want to make sure you're breaking down your steps, okay? Especially if she's standing still, you can get a little bit closer maybe, but if she starts walking or running towards you, you're going to need to break down a little bit sooner. Okay, so notice how that time I broke down my steps a little bit sooner just because she started moving. Okay, so you never want to get right up against your attacker because then they're just going to run right by you. The fourth one is dictate. I'm forcing her, I've broken down my feet, and let's say I really want her to go left, I'm forcing her left, but she keeps trying to come into me this way. Okay, I'm just going to I can keep stepping upfield, right? At a certain point, we might get so far over that I just decide to turn and say, okay, then run out that way, whatever. But I can, let's say we start over here on this side of the field, you can start right next to that cone, right? And we're over that way and she keeps trying to come this way. I can just step up field, right? And she has to then go that way. And then I initiate contact and I go. All right, so that is part of how you dictate where you want the attacker to go. If she really insists on going this way, well then you can flip your hips. Or you just have to be careful that you're not over giving her this lane. So that way all of a sudden she just decides to go this way. All right, so it's a balance that you have to play of where to be to dictate and force. With this, we want to make sure that we're staying balanced. We're not over leaning one way, over leaning the other. We're not biting for fakes. So as far as where you're looking, you can really just look at her hips. You don't have to look at her eyes, her head, her stick. You don't want to fall for these stick fakes or eye or head fakes. Her body's got to follow where her hips go, right? So you're going to keep looking at her hips and you're going to stay balanced. So as she starts going, I'm going to bring my stick over, okay? Because now she's initiated the way she's going to go. I've already forced her this way. I can bring my stick back over here because now I want it to be in her shooting lane. But again, I'm not stepping in front because now she can choose to go this way. I'm keeping her on an angle. So as we start to go here, I create contact, okay? So that is number 5. We're creating contact. All right, so again, as we create contact, we still need to stay balanced. So let's say I have contact here. I want to make sure that I'm not leaning with my top half because if she steps away, I'm going to fall over and I'm not balanced that way, okay? So in order to stay balanced, you need to get low and your pressure and your stance, the strong stance, needs to come from your legs and your core. Your arms are just holding space. So when you're playing against your attacker with contact, you also don't want to go right up to him like this, right? You want to hold it, we say hug a tree, right? So we have initiate space, we can do that here. We can bring our stick over if she tries to go back this way and here. So our stick is ready to move either way. We have this space established. I can now initiate contact with my bottom half. So if she steps away, go ahead, I'm still balanced. I didn't just fall over. You can move either direction. You can stay with her this way, you can stay with her this way. Okay, so that's really important when we start dictating and we're creating contact. As far as where to create contact with the stick, a lot of times, like if she starts going that way, if I do this, that's going to be a foul. Like that probably hurt you, and that's probably going to be a foul if I just shove with my stick. The refs do not like to see that. So it's always best to initiate contact with your forearms against her forearm, probably right above her elbow. Okay, because if you're too high, it's not going to work because you're just going to slide up and probably hit her in the face, and that's a foul. Okay, if we're too low, she's just probably going to dip her arm and then dip and then get right by you. Okay, so right in the middle is a good place to hold contact, get low, and as she starts going, all right, I'm going to stay with it. That's good. Okay. What happens if she goes to change direction? Because a lot of times attackers will use that defensive pressure against you if if they feel like you're going to start to overplay them. Say we're here and I'm putting a lot of pressure on her and I start leaning too much this way, she's going to do that, right? So how do I avoid that on defense? So she's going to come forward, I'm going this way, she starts to release, I step back. As soon as you feel that she is about to turn, you need to take a step back and a step back, because then she's going to roll right into you. If you don't step back, then she's rolling right around you and you're beat, right? So let's try that one more time. We're going through, she's coming around, I'm here, going to roll, and then I step back. Okay? So when we do it that way, it helps us regain positioning, and again, we're still then forcing her to the outside. With that, we want to talk about recovery defense. So what happens if you actually do get beat? We want to make sure that we're speeding our attacker to the spot instead of trying to get to their body. Because if we're trying to run to their body as they're running, once we get there, they're not going to be there anymore, right? So what I mean by that is, look, I'm here. Let's say she goes, I'm going to start going, but I start getting beat. Right here, I know that I'm beat, okay? If I try and just chase her body, I'm not going to stay with her. She's running full speed, I'm running full speed. Unless I'm really fast, I'm not going to get in front of her. She's got to be careful about not getting back checked. Most attackers are going to be probably good about protecting their stick, and if they are, the check is not something you want to go for because you're just going to hit them in the head. Okay, so number one, yell help. The second you feel like you're getting beat, you have to yell help to your teammates so they can come help you. Simultaneously, you're going to release contact and sprint to the spot. So that last cone down there is probably where we're going to meet. I'm not going to run to her body. By the time I get there, she's not going to be there anymore. So right now is where we both run to the cone. Go. Right? So I release contact. As soon as I feel like I'm beat, I release the contact, I sprint to the spot. Okay, let's say as we're going, I actually don't get beat and I stay with her. This is where the kind of sideways running comes into play. Your shoulders are going to be facing here, your hips slightly turned, and your feet moving this way. So that happens when she's running full speed and I'm trying to run full speed with her. It's kind of like a sideways type of run. Okay, so I'm still with her, I didn't get beat, I'm still creating pressure, so we'll play that out for a second. We'll go like half speed. Ready? Go. Good. Okay, so notice that I created contact, I was sideways running, I stayed with her, I kept the pressure. The last little piece that I wanted to mention is that if your attacker gets rid of the ball, let's say I was on her, I played really good defense, she backs out and decides to pass it. Let's say she backs out and she decides to pass the ball. In a normal help defense, you want to make sure that you are sprinting back to the 8 meter and then turning your body and ready to help her defender next to you. All right, you don't want to just stay out here on her, because now if the next girl goes to take a 1v1 and your teammate yells help, you are nowhere to be found, right? You're way out here with her. So you have to make sure if your teammate, if your attacker passes the ball over this way, then all of a sudden you're sprinting back, you see ball, you see girl, and you're ready to help your fellow defender next to you, okay? So, I just wanted to take a quick break to say thank you to Deep South Lacrosse. This clinic is powered by them. They're offering 10% off on all of their lacrosse gear. They're a lacrosse retailer, so they have not only gear like this, but they have all kinds of sticks and goals and rebounders and everything on their website. So you can click the link in my bio to check that out. And there's tons of other company discounts on there as well for all kinds of lacrosse stuff. So now we're gonna get into some drills. So the first drill we're gonna do is a box drill. And all of them are really gonna take place within this little area, okay? There's, I think, about 4 drills I'm gonna go over with you. So the first one is the box drill, and we're just gonna, real simple, have the defender stand in there. She's gonna slide over, we're gonna come up, we're gonna slide back over, back pedal, right, ground ball, and throw. Good. Okay, so that's a real simple drill. You can change that up going different ways. You can add your own variations to it if you want to add, karaokeing in there or whatever, you can do that. The same type of thing we're going to do within this is add a diagonal run so that we're working on our kind of sideways running like I was talking about before. Shuffle over, sprint up, and then sideways run back. And notice that her stick is up as she's doing that. A lot of times you're gonna be doing that if you're sliding back into the 8 to help. If your girl still has the ball, then that's when you're gonna be still making contact with them and running this way. But either way, her stick is over here. And again, you can change the direction of that too. So you can then go the other way and run backwards on a diagonal the other way. Drill number 2 is more just in an open field to work on our approach and our breakdown, but then also this is a reaction drill, so that's more realistic. Okay, so approach and breakdown, and then reaction. So start with a ball. I'm a coach or an attacker or whatever. She's gonna come towards me. She's gonna approach, right? She's gonna break down her feet like we talked about, and then as soon as she does that and I see that she's in a good stance, I'm gonna point either that way or I'm gonna point that way, which means she's gonna sideways run backwards this way, and then flip her hips and change direction and sideways run back this way. If I point that way again, she's gonna flip her hips and then sideways run this way. If I say come this way, she's gonna then run towards me. I'm gonna give her a ground ball. Okay, so we're really working on reacting to what somebody else is doing at me. Approach, break down, good, go. Good. I think she forgot I was throwing her a ground ball. That's okay. But that's what you want to do, okay? So that's the simple open field drill that you can do to work on your breakdown and your reaction time. Number 3 is the mirror drill. This one's also takes place in a box, but we actually added another side. So there's going to be 6 cones, 1, 2, 3, and same thing on the other side, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start in the middle, facing each other, and this is just we're mirroring each other. So if I'm the attacker and she's the defender, I'm going to initiate where I want to go within the box. So I can go back, side, forward, back, side, forward. I can do whatever I want, and she has to follow. So we go for about even 10 seconds. It does get tiring, so we'll demonstrate. Well, all right, good. So I don't even think that was 10 seconds, but it does get tiring, and that's a good one you can work on just 1v1, or with your team. You can set up a bunch of boxes and do that with your team. The 4th drill, and the last one we're gonna go over right now, is a lane drill. So again, we're gonna use these same cones, but now we're looking at it as a lane. Okay, so you can set up, again, a 1v1 or a bunch of lanes all over the field if you have a full team. All right, so what we're gonna do for this, the goal is for first the defender to get to know, kind of go slow and practice what we just talked about. So she's going to work on approaching, breaking down her feet, initiating the attacker, trying to dictate which way she's going to go, and we're going to go through. And I'm going to keep my feet. If the attacker goes this way, I'm going to keep my feet. All right, so we're going to go slow through like almost a live 1v1, but like 25%, just to make sure the defender is doing all those little things correctly. Okay, then once we do that, we can pick it up to 50, 75%, and then we go live. But we want to start out slow, so we'll do that here. You can even toss the ball up to yourself, and I'll time it, right? Break down my feet. She's gonna start going at like half speed. Good. 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 Good job. All right, so notice that as she starts to try and turn and change direction, I'm stepping up field and I'm not letting it happen. Let's now pick it up to like 50, 75%. Okay, so go ahead. That was a good job by her playing, the attacking position, trying to get me to do different things, and we're testing to make sure that I am stepping up and I'm staying with her and I'm moving my stick and all those little things, okay? And then you can start going full speed. We're not gonna do that right now, but you can go full speed. Just make sure you're telling the attacker if you want them to go half speed or not, because this is for the defenders, right? These types of drills are not for attackers. We want you to, challenge them, especially when we're going live, then it's live. But when we're just practicing and trying to get our fundamentals down, we want to try and do what we can to make the defender help them learn. The one last thing I wanted to mention before we end is checking. I don't like checking in general if it's not necessary. I don't like trying to go for the check or trying to bait the check, because it's really hard to do, and a lot of times you end up just losing your body positioning. So if Alex is up here and I'm back here on her, let's say she presents her stick right out in front. Well, yes, of course I'm gonna check that, right? Because it's obvious. But let's say she's protecting her stick, right? It's back there, she's shoulder ball. Do I want to try and bait this check and bait and do this and do all these things? No, I really don't, because I end up leaning, and if I lean and miss, she's gone, okay? So I do not like going for checks, okay? The only time you should go for a check is if you can stay in your stance and check within your stance, okay? If you can check within your defensive stance, that's great. If you end up having to step and lean and you miss, you're gonna get beat, okay? So I would really recommend only checking if you can stay in your stance, staying balanced, quick check. That way if you miss, you're still here. Quick check, I miss, I'm still here. All right, otherwise it's bad news. All right, so I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment or DM me. I'll try and answer whatever I can. Good job.